In a small, peaceful village in Ghana, where family ties were once unbreakable, a single piece of paper shattered everything. A father's last wish became a curse, turning brothers against brothers, sisters against sisters. This is the heartbreaking tale of betrayal, greed, and the true cost of inheritance. The sun rose over the quiet village of Agyeman, a place where laughter echoed through the huts, children played freely, and elders shared wisdom under the mighty baobab tree. Here, family was everything: respect for elders, unity among siblings, and loyalty to tradition were the pillars of life. At the heart of this village lived the Agyeman family, known for their kindness and generosity. The patriarch, Nana Kwame Agyeman, was a respected cocoa farmer who had built a thriving business. His 3 children, Kwadwo, the eldest, serious and hardworking; Oma, the only daughter, compassionate but strong-willed; and Yo, the youngest, charming but reckless, were his pride. For years, the family lived in harmony, but everything changed when Nana Kwame fell ill. On his deathbed, he gathered his children and the village elders. With trembling hands, he revealed his will: the family's wealth and land would be divided unequally. Kwadwo, as the firstborn, would inherit 60%, Oma 30%, and Yo only 10%. The room fell silent. Oma's eyes filled with tears. Yo clenched his fist. Kwadwo bowed his head, torn between duty and guilt. The village buzzed with whispers: how could Nana Kwame do this? As the news spread, the once united family crumbled. Arguments erupted. Friends took sides. The peaceful village of Agyeman was now a battlefield of anger and betrayal. The village elders unrolled Nana Kwame's will, their faces grave. The words spoken aloud sent shockwaves through the room. To my son Kwadwo, I leave 60% of my land and wealth because he has walked beside me since he was a boy. To my daughter Oma, I leave 30%, for she has a husband and children to care for. And to my son Yo, I leave only 10%, for he has spent more time in the city chasing dreams than tending to his family duties. A gasp filled the air. Oma's hands flew to her mouth. Yo jumped up, his chair crashing to the ground. Kwadwo sat frozen, his heart pounding. He had expected an equal split. Why such an unfair division? Nana Kwame had his reasons. Kwadwo had stayed loyal, working the farm tirelessly. Oma, though married, always returned to help during harvest. But Yo? He had left for the city years ago, only visiting when he needed money. Still, was this punishment or a lesson? The family's first explosion. Yo shouted, "This is robbery. Father was sick, someone tricked him." His eyes darted to Kwadwo, accusingly. Oma, though hurt, tried to calm him. Yo, let us think before we speak. Kwadwo, torn between guilt and duty, said quietly, "I did not ask for this." Their uncle, Ose, who had always envied Nana Kwame's success, smirked from the corner. "A divided house cannot stand," he muttered. The village takes sides. News spread like wildfire. Some villagers sided with Kwadwo, he earned it. Others pitied Yo, how can a father reject his own son? Oma, caught in the middle, became the peacekeeper, but even her patience was wearing thin. That night, Yo packed a bag, his voice shaking with rage. "If this family turns its back on me, then I will find my own way." Oma grabbed his arm. "Running won't solve anything." Kwadwo stood at the door, conflicted. "Stay, Yo. We can fix this." "But you're yanked free." "Fix it. You got what you wanted." With that, he vanished into the night, leaving behind a broken family and a village buzzing with gossip. When money speaks, even the closest families fall apart. The Agyeman family was no exception. With every passing day, their anger grew louder, their words sharper, and their hearts colder. But this wasn't just a family problem anymore, the whole village was watching and taking sides. In the house divided. After your dramatic exit, the remaining siblings could barely look at each other. Quadwo, now managing the farm, tried to act as head of the family, but every decision he made was met with suspicion. When he hired extra workers for harvest, Oma accused him of wasting their father's money. Oma, torn between loyalty to her brothers and her own family's needs, grew bitter. Why should Quadwo control everything? Do my children not deserve more? Though gone, was still a ghost in their arguments. Some villagers whispered that he had been treated unfairly, while others said he got what he deserved. The village takes sides. The conflict spilled into the streets of Agyeman. Market gossip, women selling cassava and plantains whispered that Quadwo had tricked his father into changing the will. Elders' intervention, the village chief called a meeting, urging the family to settle their dispute before it tore the village apart. But even the elders disagreed. Some said tradition favored the firstborn, while others argued fairness mattered more. Ose's schemes, the sibling's uncle, Ose, saw an opportunity. He secretly met with Yo in the city, feeding his anger. Your brother stole what was yours, he whispered. Will you let him get away with it? One evening, Oma confronted Quadwo in front of the family house. You sit in father's chair, eat from his plate, but you are not him, she shouted, tears in her eyes. You were supposed to protect us, not take everything for yourself. Quadwo, exhausted, snapped back. If you had stayed and worked like I did, maybe father would have trusted him more. A crowd gathered, watching the once respected Agyeman family tear itself apart. That night, Oma made a decision. She would go to the city and find you herself. If the brothers wouldn't listen to her, maybe they would listen to the law. The tension in Agyeman had become unbearable. The village chief, Nana Asante, called an emergency family meeting under the sacred Odom tree, where disputes had been settled for generations. The mediation begins. The elders sat in a circle, passing a white calabash, a symbol of truth. One by one, each sibling spoke. Quadwo, voice heavy with frustration, I followed our father's wishes. Must I now give up what is rightfully mine? Oma, tearful but firm, this was never just about land. It's about respect. Why was I valued less because I am a woman? Yo, who had returned with Oma, folded his arms. Father was unfair. The will must change. The elder's dilemma. Custom favored the firstborn son, but fairness demanded reconsideration. Some elders suggested splitting the inheritance equally, but others warned, if we ignore a man's last wish, what does that say about our traditions? The legal battle looms. When mediation stalled, you made a threat, if the village won't help me, the courts will. Tradition versus modern law. In Ghana, customary law and formal courts often clash in inheritance cases. Quadwo argued, our ancestors did not settle disputes in white men's courts. But you fired back, then why do our ancestors' rules only favor you? The family's shame. Taking family matters to court was seen as a disgrace. Neighbors whispered, the Agyemans have lost their way. The emotional toll. Oma, caught in the middle, stopped sleeping. I just want my brothers back, she confided to her husband. Quadwo grew isolated, burdened by guilt but unwilling to bend. Yo, though angry, secretly wondered, is this land worth losing my family? Even the village felt the strain, harvests were delayed, festivals cancelled. The joy that once filled Agyeman was gone. A frightening turn. That night, as Kodwo walked home, a shadowy figure, Ose, hurled a rock at him, barely missing his head. Was this just the beginning of the violence? The path forward. After the tears, the anger, and the broken trust, can the Agyeman family find their way back to each other? Or will this inheritance war leave scars that never heal? This is the story of redemption and the true meaning of family. A moment of reckoning. The near-violent attack on Kodwo shook the entire village. That night, the siblings gathered in their father's empty house, the same house where they had once laughed together as children. The weight of their feud hung heavy in the air. Kodwo, holding his head in his hands, finally broke the silence. Is this what father wanted? His children at war. His name disgraced. Amma, wiping her tears, whispered, "We have forgotten who we are." Even Yo, who had been so full of rage, sat quietly. "I just wanted to be treated fairly," he admitted. For the first time in months, they truly listened to each other. The compromise. The next morning, the siblings returned to the elders with a new proposal. Kodwo would keep 50% of the inheritance but share control of the family farm. Amma would receive 30%, with a portion set aside for her children's education. Yo would get 20%, along with a chance to prove himself by managing a smaller plot of land. The village erupted in relief. The elders blessed the agreement, and for the first time in a long time, Agyeman felt peace returning. Rebuilding trust. Kodwo invited Yo to walk alongside him, teaching him what their father had once taught him. Amma organized a family meal, where they shared stories of their father, not as the man who left a disputed will, but as the loving parent they all missed. Even Uncle Ose, seeing his schemes fail, slunk away in shame. The harvest that year was the richest the village had seen in a long time. Moral of the story. The Agyeman family's heartbreaking journey through betrayal and reconciliation teaches us profound lessons about human nature, family bonds, and the true meaning of inheritance. As the dust settles in Agyeman's village, three timeless truths emerge from their experience that resonate far beyond Ghana's borders. 1. Family over wealth, the priceless inheritance. The bitter feud over Nana Kwame's estate nearly destroyed generations of love and trust. Kodwo's initial insistence on his rightful 60% share, Yo's burning resentment over his 10%, and almost silent suffering between them, all stemmed from placing material wealth above familial love. The turning point came not when they divided the land, but when they finally saw the tears in each other's eyes. In African culture, where family is the true social security system, this lesson cuts deep. The cocoa farm could burn down, the money could be stolen, but the hands that wipe your tears during hardship, those of siblings, parents, children, are the real inheritance. Their story mirrors countless families across the continent where property disputes leave emotional scars lasting decades. 2. Communication, the bridge over troubled waters. Imagine if the siblings had gathered calmly after the funeral to discuss their father's will. Instead of assumptions, Kodwo manipulated father, they might have understood Nana Kwame's reasoning. Traditional African families often avoid difficult conversations, letting grievances fester until they explode. The months of public fighting, the village gossip, the near-violent attack, all could have been avoided with open dialogue. Their reconciliation only began when they finally voiced their true feelings, Kodwo's burden of responsibility, Yo's need for validation, Omo's desire for fairness. This reflects a universal truth, whether in Ghana, Nigeria, or South Africa. Unspoken words become the bricks that build walls between loved ones. 3. Forgiveness, the balm for wounded hearts. The most powerful moment wasn't the signing of the new agreement, but when you accepted Kwadwo's mentorship on the farm. That simple act of walking side by side, letting calloused hands replace harsh words, embodied true forgiveness. Across Africa, from Rwanda's post-genocide reconciliation to South Africa's Truth Commission, we've seen how letting go of anger rebuilds nations, and the same applies to families. Omo's decision to host the first family meal after the conflict, serving her father's favorite light soup, became their ritual of healing. The meal symbolized what psychologists confirm: shared food and stories rewire painful memories into bonds of resilience. A call to action, protecting our shared legacy. This story mirrors realities in Nairobi's affluent suburbs, Lagos' bustling families, and Johannesburg's township households. Inheritance disputes are tearing African families apart at an alarming rate. But as the Agyemans learned, there's hope if we document wishes clearly, like Nana Kwame should have. Include all children in family decisions. Seek mediation early through elders or professionals. Their harvest celebration 1 year later, with Kwadwo's improved farming techniques, Yo's marketing skills attracting buyers, and Omo's children playing freely between the cocoa trees, proves that broken ties can mend stronger than before. Final words. If this Ghanaian family's journey stirred something in you, pause and reflect. Are there unspoken words in your family? Unexpressed appreciations. The Agyemans nearly lost everything to learn that wealth divides, but love multiplies. Like and subscribe for more African stories that don't just entertain, but transform hearts. Because across our beautiful continent, the greatest inheritance isn't in our bank accounts, it's in the family stories we preserve, the lessons we pass down, and the love we choose to protect. The end.